I'm recording, so if you can just click that, that would be fabulous. And we will get started with our fantastic student panel today, or faculty panel, I mean. So welcome again, and congratulations again to all of you on your admission to Ohio State. We're so excited for you, excited about seeing you in the fall. And I think I've met all of you at some point, but just in case, I'm Katie Watkins, Program Director of Undergrad Studies. Really excited to be here today and to work with you all as you transition into OSU in a few short months. So I want to have our faculty panel introduce themselves. For the sake of sanity, I'm just going to tell you what order to go in so that we don't have that awkward Zoom thing where we're all just like waiting for each other. So we'll go Dr. Summers, Dr. Denton, Dr. Woods, Dr. Kwiek. So just remember your buddy before you. We'll go in that order. So I put it in the chat, but if you all don't mind sharing your name, where you're from, where you went to school and the degrees you have, and then what you teach and how you work with students. So are you an instructor? Do you work with student orgs, research, all that kind of stuff? Go ahead, Dr. Summers.
All right, thank you, Katie. My name is Katie Summers. I am originally from Loveland, Ohio, which is about 20 minutes north of Cincinnati. And I am a lifelonger at Ohio State, we'll say. So I actually was a BSPS student long ago, stayed on for my PhD that I got in pharmacology, did my postdoc here, and I am now a faculty member. I primarily teach in the undergraduate programs. I teach a few GE courses, like a history of vaccines course and a writing course sometimes. I teach a drug discovery course, and then I teach with Dr. Woods in the kind of pinnacle science course at the end of your BSPS career. And then I teach a tiny bit in the PharmD program now, so I'm kind of all over the place. I also am the advisor for a student outreach group and work on one of our outreach teams for Generation RX. I think I answered all the questions for the introduction.
You did a great job. A+, Dr. Summers.
Oh,
Go ahead, Dr. Denton.
All right, everyone. I'm Dr. Nick Denton. Similar to Katie, I am a full lifer OSU. Been here for undergrad, not the BSPS program, but a biomedical program, and stayed here for PhD research over at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Did a short postdoc over at Northwestern in Chicago, and then got the job here as a lecturer. So now I teach undergrad courses as well. I also do a section of the writing course in drug use in American culture that Dr. Summers mentioned. And I also teach all the lab courses. As you can probably tell from my virtual background, that's going to be the lab space for your pharmaceutical sciences lab course. I also do experimental techniques, and we also piloted a pharmaceutical science research course where you can talk about how research is designed, how it is implemented, how it is communicated, and get you interested in discovering the unknown. Now
I love it.
Spiel.
That's so great. Thanks, Dr. Denton. Dr. Woods.
Hello, my name is Zach Woods. I got my PharmD degree at Ohio Northern, so I am a pharmacist on faculty at the college. I am originally from the Akron area in Ohio. I teach kind of split, so I teach kind of like what Katie had said in the senior level of our undergraduate degree, as well as a couple electives. I teach a couple online ones. I teach a Harry Potter associated elective, as well as I work with the study abroad program. So when we used to be able to go abroad. And then my other half of teaching is in the PharmD program, where I teach therapeutics with our pharmacy students. And then I advise a pharmacy organization, and I help to advise one of our undergrads. So if you come to Ohio State and then you stick around for your PharmD program, I am a face that you will get to know very well.
Love it. Dr. Kwiek.
Everyone, my name is Nicole Kwiek, and I am a faculty member here. Have never been an Ohio State Buckeye before I became a faculty member here, but I grew up in Logan, Ohio, which is the Hocking Hills. If you're an Ohioan, if you're not, you should still go to the Hocking Hills. It's a beautiful part of the area or of the state. I went to Ohio University for my undergraduate career, and I majored in biochemistry. and then got my PhD in pharmacology from Duke University and did my postdoc there in pharmacology education. So I have been doing all kinds of fun things at the college, and my baby and love and everything about it is amazing is this BSPS program. And I think we've got these amazing people, we've got these amazing students, and they've made this amazing content. It's just a merge of all kinds of awesome things. So I still teach a class. I teach a class called Therapeutic Frontiers. It's an elective class for students across this whole across the years. And you don't have to, you can take it as a freshman, you can take it as a senior and still get something out of it. So I do teach that, but most of my time is behind the scenes. So I also hold an assistant dean of undergraduate studies position. So I am really involved with Katie in terms of making sure your experience is everything that you want it to be, and making sure we're offering all the coolest classes that we can possibly can, and working with these amazing people on the call to create those classes. So I do that. And then I also founded and now lead a big a national educational outreach program called Generation RX that Katie referred to as well. And that's a project that it's a community engagement project that you can get involved with as an undergraduate student.
So you can see our faculty are complete losers and do nothing good. You guys are awesome. Like, I know you're awesome, but hearing you talk about it is such a good reminder. So kind of talking a little bit about courses. I know you guys have all been involved in different ways in teaching and developing courses. So I'm interested in, and I'm sure the students are interested too, in hearing you talk a little bit about courses that you've been involved in developing that you loved, or courses that you teach that you love. Maybe pick one or two to talk about to share with the students.
We're going in the same order still. Don't need
Let's
to switch
do
it
it.
up.
Just make it
Okay. I think my favorite course at the moment is the history of vaccines course that I mentioned briefly. So that is a GE course that counts as history credit. And I actually co-created it and co-lead it with an instructor from history. And so his name is Dr. Harris, and he does all of the, truly historical information. And then I come and teach alongside him. So we switch back and forth pretty much on a weekly basis and talk about the science behind the vaccine. So we start from the creation of the smallpox vaccine all the way up to today with Operation Warp Speed and the COVID-19 vaccines. And so the class started 3 years ago now. So it's a new course. And while the pandemic we're in is extremely unfortunate, it has also led to a lot of interesting discussion in the course. With a lot of new information coming out, and it's just a lot of fun. We, for the past year, it's usually fully in person, switched to synchronous Zoom discussions and recorded lectures, and have had a lot of really good discussions with the students. So that's probably my favorite one.
Love it. And the students love it too, because it fills up every semester. Go ahead, Dr. Denton.
All right. I mean, you can probably tell I'm a huge advocate of undergraduate research. I love the lab. 4600 is the one that is for pharmaceutical sciences. And we're going to go over the drug discovery process, going to go from everything from the medicinal chemistry of making a drug, the pharmaceutics of understanding how a drug is reaching its target site and how it's formulated, to the pharmacology of how that drug interacts with these organ systems to improve health in your patient. And that is an excellent way to also engage in the discovery process. You're not just regurgitating information, you are learning the tools to investigate the unknown and make new discoveries as you go on in your research or your practice afterwards. So definitely a favorite course of mine. Dr. Woods?
Ooh, too many good classes. I'll do two. So the first is an elective that is associated with Harry Potter, PHR 2934, where we kind of were hoping to share some like the good news of pharmaceutical science with campus at large. So we talk about how pharmacy relates to, or medical sciences relate to, kind of concepts that we think about as magic or that have some historical or fantasy type concepts. And Nick comes in and helps to teach about potions, and we have people come in and talk about kind of charms or historical things that we used to think were magical but are now kind of rooted in science. specifically medical science. And then the senior level course that I teach, which is kind of a transition for lots of our students into graduate school or professional school. That's the Molecules to Medicine 2. Is just a really fun class because I get to see kind of senior undergrads at the peak of their existence, right? Like you've learned all that you've learned, and this is the class where we get to apply it all. So we talk about things that you've learned about in previous courses with everyone else on the call. And we talk about how it relates to being a clinician or a graduate scientist. And it's kind of fun to see like the culmination of what everyone's learned at the kind of the precipice of your graduation. And when you're deciding like, well, what do you want to be and how does all this support that? So it's always a fun class to go through.
Thanks, Dr. Woods. Go ahead, Dr. Kwiek.
So it's really hard to choose. I was updating my resume or CV the other day, and I listed out the classes that I've been involved with course development on. And again, it's not necessarily my primary course, my primary role as a teacher, but also helping others develop these courses. And I have been involved in over 30 new classes at Ohio State in the College of Pharmacy. So there have been lots that are really cool to work on. Some have already been discussed here. The vaccines course, the lab course is, no doubt the most comprehensive and biggest pharmaceutical sciences type wet lab experience that you'll get across the country. No one else even touches that. The Molecules to Medicine series was amazing, and Dr. Woods and his team of instructors have created this outstanding course that, again, nobody usually gets that content until they're in PharmD medical school or something else. So again, it's a really awesome class. We have this writing class that a number of people have been involved with, the drug use in American culture. That is really fun. And a new one that we're right in the process of approving right now, but is going to be super awesome. One of our really talented instructors created a class called Drug Culture and Genetics. And it's perspectives from Otzi the Iceman to Ozzy Osbourne. And so there is all kinds of cool stuff that's going to happen with that class. And we're hoping to launch that to anybody, including freshmen, starting next spring. So lots of good stuff there.
And I think it's a really good point. Thank you all for sharing. I think it's a really good point to make too, that something that's really unique about our program, like Dr. Kwiek said, not only do you get to learn about subject matter and really dive into things that you typically wouldn't in most undergraduate degree programs, but I think the really unique thing is as a freshman, so when you step your little feet on campus in a few months, there are tons of classes that you can take within the pharmaceutical sciences. You don't have to wait until you have this vast knowledge of chemistry to take some of these classes. Almost every class that was talked about, outside of just a couple of them, can be taken as first-year students. So get excited because you can really start learning about pharmaceutical science from the minute that you set foot on campus. So I love that. You don't have to wait. So shifting gears a little, interested in why you think faculty or what you think the BSPS program does for students that nobody else can. No problem.
So I have a unique perspective since I was once a BSPS student, and I really am still around because I have such a deep passion for this program and I love it, and I always have. And I think when I was a student, I came from a mid-sized high school and I fell in love with Ohio State, but the idea of the number of people at Ohio State always overwhelmed me a bit. And I still remember when I came to one of the information sessions for this BSPS program that I had really no idea what it was about. It felt much more manageable, felt a little more like a home, and that I could find my way, make friends, and be in a smaller environment with all of that Ohio State still has to offer. And that was 100% true, and I think it's still true. So we have amazing faculty and staff in our program, and Katie Watkins being one of my favorites personally, but that are here to help students. I love working with our BSPS students, always have. We have great students. And it just feels like a unique opportunity to learn science in a much more interesting way, because I'm biased, but also figure out what you want to do. And I, in all honesty, came in, I never wanted to be a pharmacist. I was more interested in drug research. And while I was one of the rarer students in my class, there was, a lot of opportunities to learn more about that. opportunities to do research, opportunities to take different classes, and really figure out what my path was going to be. So.
I love it. That's great. Dr. Denton.
Awesome. I'm going to piggyback a little bit on Dr. Summers' answer, utilizing those big university opportunities in a small setting, because OSU is one of the leading research universities in the nation. If there is anything that you are passionate about in the pharmaceutical sciences, if you want to go and solve the opioid crisis, if you want to research cancer, if you want to figure out how to make the latest and greatest new drug to treat a disease that you are interested in, the fact that OSU has recruited so many top researchers into its faculty means that you can almost guarantee to find someone on campus that is researching a topic that you will be passionate about. So I would say that a big advantage, I'm going to put a plug in for our undergraduate research course, because even though you might not be able to enter my lab until you get some chemistry done, within your first year, you can still take our undergraduate pharmaceutical sciences research course, where we'll talk about what research is, how it is conducted, and all that. And you can do that right off the bat to understand what opportunities are available for you at OSU and how you can get involved in research, find funding for research, find opportunities to present your research, even publish your research to the greater field of scientists. So that is something that is incredibly rare for an undergrad program. There aren't many undergrads that can right off the bat get involved in research and find someone doing exactly what they're passionate about.
Thank you, Dr. Denton.
And I think kind of what Dr. Summers and Dr. Denton have mentioned kind of feed into mine. When you think about undergrads, lots of our undergrads have the goal to go on to do more schooling. And that certainly doesn't mean that you have to as a BSPS major. There are tons of great careers that you can get into with this degree. But many of the students that we work with want to become a pharmacist, a physician. They want to be a researcher and get a PhD, or they want to end up back in academia somehow. And there are lots of really good ways to do that. You can get a biology degree, you can get a chemistry degree, you don't even have to get a science degree. But today it's really competitive. It's a competitive market, it's hard to do. And schools, including Ohio State, are looking for students who stand out or have put some effort into exploring those areas. And it's really hard to do that not in this program. So you can be successful in kind of exploring the areas of pharmaceutical research or practice, or what does medicine mean? What are all these big topics somewhere else? But here it's going to be easy access. It's built into the classes you're taking. The faculty are accessible, and you're going to be with peers that are also doing the same thing. So it's just easier. It takes some of the load off, and it allows you to spend your time figuring out if you actually like it, rather than seeking out those opportunities. You can just decide if it's for you, which is an opportunity that lots of undergrads don't get. And so it really sets up our BSPS majors to be really effective scientists and clinicians before they even walk across the stage at graduation.
Love it. Yep. Dr. Kwiek.
I completely support everything else that has been mentioned about you get the small town college or small college support in with all of the opportunities of a big institution. And again, we are one of the few in the nation, if not one of the only, that has all of the health sciences on our campus. But it also has law. It also has public affairs. It also has business. It has so many different places that you can interface with a BSPS major. So that is one. I love what Dr. Wood said around standing out. Everyone's clamoring to stand out, and you know, a biology degree is wonderful, and I won't disparage ever anybody pursuing a biology degree. but there are a lot of biology majors in this country, but there are not a lot of BSPS programs. And by last count, it was about 20 or so programs across the country. So again, if you're looking for the next step, even if that means industry, and you're going to an employer or a professional school or whatever, and you say, hey, I got a pharmaceutical sciences degree, that catches attention because it's so unique, it's so rare, it's so unusual that you get that kind of content at the undergraduate level. So that is something that's really special here.
I love it. I'm all about like the support services. I think our college has done an excellent job at investing in our students' future, not only by hiring amazing faculty and developing this awesome curriculum that's unique and giving you all those opportunities, but then we don't just let you sit back and flounder around. You know, we're here to support you, right? So between our advising office, our career advising that's working with you from the freshman year all the way through when you're an alum, you can even come back and they can assist you with things if you need help. We have counseling built in, we have tutoring built in for chemistry. We have our own study abroad program over spring break. You know, we care about giving you experiences. You know, we have research fellowships and mentoring you and helping you to be successful. And we listen to our students. A lot of those things have come from students saying to us, like, this would be helpful. And we're like, okay, let's develop it, you know? So I just think it's such an awesome place to be in, and our administration really does support our students. So it's awesome to watch students go all the way from freshman year all the way through to PharmD graduation. It's so cool.
Before we pivot, I do want to say, you can ask anybody in our whole college that teaches an undergraduate program, and we will all 100% attest that you will have the best advising and student support staff at the whole university. And that is largely because the amazing Katie Watkins is leading. So yes, you are going to be well supported in your time at the College of Pharmacy.
Thanks, Dr. Kwiek. That's so kind. So wondering what you all think. So I know sometimes it can be a little intimidating, and maybe even some students today are like, oh, it's faculty, like I'm really intimidated. So I'm always curious, some advice, and it's funny because I know you all, and I'm, you know, yeah, you're all just people like me, but you know, what kind of advice do you have for like an incoming first year student, you know, to help them think about ways that they can build relationships with faculty or build connections that are genuine? How do you reach out to faculty, you know, as faculty? How do you feel like you could give some advice around that?
Should we let someone else start? I feel like.
Sure. Do you want to go backwards? Or we can go with whoever. How about Nick? Nick's unmuted. Why don't you go first?
Yeah,
We'll
no
just jump
problem.
around.
Yeah, sure thing. I would say that one way to really get a faculty member talking is ask them about their research. We are very passionate about what we research and what we're investigating. And it's not very often that we can talk to our friends and family about what we do. Not many people will bother to listen to us for that long. So if there's a student that comes up to me and wants to nerd out about research, I am always going to be free to just talk your head off about all sorts of research opportunities going on. So yeah, and kind of going off of that same idea is that a lot of the instructors in your courses are also doing research on the side. So even teaching faculty like I'm still trying to figure out ways how to improve like STEM education, and I can talk to you about that. Or if there is something that you are interested in researching yourself, we can almost point you to someone in the same building almost who is working on that topic that you're interested in. So do look out for us for talk about research, and also we can point you towards a direction to find your own research experience.
I love it. Great advice. You want to go next, Dr. Woods?
Absolutely. I think it's a benefit of Ohio State, and it's also advice, is so particularly like these faces on this screen, you're going to see a lot. Even in the past year, virtually, these faces show up a lot in meetings or interactions with students. And when we're all on campus, it's really hard to avoid all of us. And those conversations, they come up really naturally because we're all involved in lots of different places. So just as important as it is, Nick's right. It's really important to talk about like research and the things that we're interested in professionally. But I also know some personal things about all these people on this call too. And we all have like quirks or things that we like to talk about. And so if you're intimidated by the science, which I think sometimes is true because it just really sounds amazing and impressive. I know that each of us kind of have like our thing that you can get your foot in the door, right? So like I have stuffed animals behind me. You can talk to me about those, right? Katie Watkins is in a band, right? So like there are lots of ways that you can like sneak in the conversation and make it a little bit more approachable. And I'm just as willing to talk about those things as I am about like clinical research. And I think that that's something that you get because we have kind of a small college feel where we're a little bit more approachable as people. And then Nick, again, is totally right. Then you can kind of ascend to like the fact that we have some of these amazing research opportunities and amazing clinical opportunities for you to do. But you don't have to meet us right there. You can kind of like slowly build up to it. And we're more than happy to kind of meet you where you're at.
I love it. Yeah. And because we're a small college too, we all know each other. So like if there's a faculty member that you want to talk to, but you don't know how to broach the subject, like come talk to me or talk to an advisor and we can give you some tips of some ways to start that conversation. I've done it more than once. There was one time, Dr. Kwiek, there was a student who really wanted to talk to Dr. Kwiek. And she often wears animals on her clothes. In fact, it's weird that she's not wearing some weird science dress or some animal shirt right now. But I said something to her, like she has a lobster on her shirt. Like you can talk to her. She's very approachable. But it's true. Everybody's really, really friendly and approachable. Go ahead, Dr. Kwiek.
I love all the points that have been made, and I'm just going to add, you know, coming to college is a transition, right? And we all kind of adapt to that transition, and sometimes it's really hard, and sometimes it's easier for others. But I guarantee you, we have all seen someone who has struggled the same way, who's, you know, has achieved in the same way, but specifically the struggle part. I say that because I know that students sometimes feel like they can't share these struggles. They can't go and they can't talk to the advisor because they're clearly not going to know what they're talking about, or that no one else at this university could possibly be as in a rotten situation as this student is. And that is not the case. Katie has seen everything, and beautifully she helps to take you through that very successfully. So another good example is a lot of the faculty. You may think we're, you know, brilliant kind of superstar minds, but we have all struggled in some way. And I flunked my first chemistry exam as a freshman, and I ended up doing just fine. So again, reaching out to your instructors and your support staff, your advisors, and you know, at the first sign that things are hard, that things are you're struggling. Maybe you just need a different kind of way to think about it. Maybe you just need a different strategy. And you know, we've all lived it, and we're all here to help you get at answers to how to improve on that.
I love it. Dr. Summers, do you feel like you have advice to share?
See, this is the downside of going last. I can say ditto to everyone else. But what I would add, I think what I didn't really hear is how do you actually go about approaching us? Because I do know students in the past have told me I was too afraid to come to your office hours, or I was too afraid. And I think I completely understand that. Email is always a good way to start. You know, there's, even if you don't really have a question, I've had plenty of students email me to say, hey, I'm in this class of yours, want to introduce myself. As Nick said, a lot of them will, you know, say, I was interested in your research, or you said in class this, and is there any way you could tell me more? You know, I'm always happy to chat through a variety of modes of communication. So email, or I might ask if you want to stop by. A lot of students who are uncomfortable coming to my office will just hang around after class. And so, you know, I think you often see kind of the groups, and all the faculty on here know this, you know, the 3 or 4 students who kind of hang around and want to chat. And then one of my favorite stories is 2 students who I now know extremely well, who are in the PharmD program at this point, one of them decided she really wanted to, you know, talk to me and get to know me a little bit more and about certain things, but she was too afraid to come to my office alone. So she drug her friend with her, and they ended up coming to visit me like almost every week for that semester to talk about random things. So, you know, drag a friend with you too. You know, we try not to be scary. I hope I'm not scary, but you know, just take that first step and find us in the hallway, anything like that.
I love it. Yeah, and I do assure you all that that our faculty are all very, very happy to work with you all and to support you all. One of the really nice things about it is that they're all here because they care, right? So take advantage, and your advisors are always a good place to start. You know, we're kind of like the background, like we know a lot of things about what's going on, and if you don't know who to talk to or how to approach them, like I've helped students I've helped them proofread and write that initial email to faculty so many times, you know, where they're so stressed out about making a bad first impression. Like I've read it and given suggestions, and then they send it and then they respond and they're like, Katie, oh my gosh, they wrote back and we're going to have coffee. And it's just so exciting, you know, so we're here to help with that stuff too. So those were all the questions I had planned. I wanted to make sure I left time for faculty to share anything that they have to share, or for students to ask questions. Dr. Kwiek, do you have something to say? I see your hand is raised.
Sorry, I just want to add on. Like I would say, just to like wrap up this last conversation, is the worst thing that you could do is not connect with your faculty and your staff, and then at the end of your 3 to 4 years here, and you need a recommendation letter or you need a reference, and you email us and we don't know you and we only had you in class and we only know what the grade was, I mean, we only knew you just because of a grade, not because we got to know you. That's a really hard letter to write. And even just an informal chat at the end of class, as we've suggested here, allows us to put in more information into that reference letter about why you are suitable for, or a good candidate for this position, or this school that you're applying to. So yeah, don't wait until the last minute. Try to infuse this early on. And I'm an introvert, so I get it if that's intimidating. You can all do it, I promise.
Thanks for the encouraging words, Dr. Kwiek. So students, this is a great opportunity for you to ask questions of our faculty. You can feel free to unmute. As a reminder, I am recording, so if you would prefer, you can post questions in the chat. If you want to unmute and ask, you can as well. We would love to take any questions that you have at all. Dr. Woods is really excited. He's dancing, you guys. It always takes a minute for the first student to ask a question, but I know somebody has to have one. And if not, I have some backup questions. You guys know how bad I am with silence. This is hard for me. Okay, Dr. Woods, I was hoping maybe this is a backup question, so I didn't prepare you for it, but I promise you can answer it. Can you talk a little bit about your experience working with the study abroad program recently?
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about like the best opportunity. So Ohio State has a tremendously like huge and comprehensive set of study abroad opportunities, and you absolutely can do it outside of the College of Pharmacy, have a grand old time. But what's really cool about the College of Pharmacy is there's a very specific program only for undergraduate and PharmD students. I think it's open to actually all of our students in the college, where you can travel with a group of kind of our college's cohort over spring break. So you're not giving up your summer, you're not kind of messing with a semester potentially either. So you enroll in a class, we meet kind of once a week in the spring semester, and then we spend a week in country. So, oh my gosh, last year, I spent spring break in London with a group of about 20-ish students, and we explored the different types of pharmaceutical practices that exist in the UK. And historically, this trip has went to places like Switzerland, Italy. So there are lots of really cool places kind of on the docket for us to explore. The college even offers up some financial assistance for certain students. You can win a full scholarship to go on the trip, which is a really great opportunity if you're worried about the financial implications of that. And it's just a cool opportunity to kind of learn in a different setting, as well as have some fun and kind of have an additional excuse to travel. So cannot recommend our study abroad program or the university's programs enough.
Thanks, Dr. Woods. And while you were talking, we got a question in the chat, but I'm having a little trouble understanding what you mean by work study programs. Are you asking about like work options as in like in a lab? Because we have some students that work in labs for credit hours, some students work as student workers in our college in different capacities, serving like, academic affairs or other areas. We also have a pharmacy tech kind of program. Okay, so I think I'm on the right track. We have a pharmacy, well, let me back up a little bit. So first, do one of you want to talk about faculty that have actually some more experience actually working with students in a research capacity, or maybe your own experience, how that kind of works if students work in a lab setting? I mean, I can talk about it, but it's more interesting if you do.
An example, and Dr. Denton and Katie and I are actually reviewing applications for this as we speak, and we'll have a better understanding next week. But we are in our second year of launching a program called Creates, which is focused on creating literally or developing out new cancer researchers. So many of us who come into science may have come in because we thought one day we'd want to work and study and treat cancer. And so we understood this. We worked with a unit on campus, a really amazing unit called the Comprehensive Cancer Center. You may know it as the James. It's all part and parcel. They are the group. And they are giving us $40,000 a year to dole out to students for research opportunity, research fellowships. And so we've got that equates to about $4,000 per student. So that was intended originally to be for summer research, but right now in COVID, it's coming throughout the year as we kind of get back to a normal state. But in a couple of years, I'm hoping that it is going to be the summer experience that you can do, after classes are done. And again, it allows you about 10 weeks of concentrated research time, but also development out onto, you get to learn what graduate school is like. You get to learn about what research is. You get to read scientific papers with other people in the group. You get some mentorship there. So it's a really great opportunity and program that we're launching here.
Does anyone else have anything to add?
Just to clarify the student's question, are you referring to the federal work study program?
She might be. We do have some students that serve in work study positions where they will work like front desk job. That's kind of a forward-facing position at our academic affairs office. So you can like greet customers and things like that. So it doesn't sound like it. Okay. So yeah, so what Dr. Kwiek talked about is definitely one of the big opportunities that students have. I also wanted to mention the medication management program, and that kind of ties into your question too, Daniela. And she appreciates your comments about the chemistry exam, Dr. Kwiek, because I think students get concerned about that they're going to fail forever. So obviously that's not the case. So, but yeah, so kind of for both of you, there's a program that we have in the College of Pharmacy called the Medication Management Program, MMP. And basically what the MMP does is it's a clinical pharmacy, a community pharmacy, basically, that's running through a telepharmacy. So essentially, the pharmacy techs that work there and pharmacists, they are calling Medicare and Medicaid patients all over the country and doing medication reviews with them and counseling on their medications. So it's a way that you can work in affiliation with the College of Pharmacy and just get tons of patient care experience and learn a lot about the different types of drugs, particularly in the Medicaid, Medicare kind of population. And you just learn about those drugs and how to talk with people about their medication history. So it's a really good opportunity. The majority of our pre-pharmacy students tend to work as pharmacy technicians, and they do that all over the city of Columbus. Some students maybe get a position where they can transfer from like a home CVS to a Columbus CVS or something like that. We also see students working in the hospital systems nationwide, over at the James that Dr. Kwiek mentioned, at the Wexner Center. So we see all kinds of opportunities like that students get involved in. So I hope that helps. We can definitely work with you, Nevaeh, to help you find an opportunity that will work well for you. And our career services folks can do the same. We do share a lot of job information, part-time job information through our BSPS newsletter. So we're always happy to, share those kinds of things with you all. So great questions in the chat coming in. So what community outreach programs does the school participate in? Great question. So I think Dr. Kwiek and Dr. Summers can probably speak on this a little bit.
Summers, why don't you start with Outreach RX and then I can come in with some Gen RX type stuff.
Cool.
So I am the co-advisor for an undergrad group called Outreach RX, and their primary goal is to be involved in different facets of outreach. It started, I think, 2 years ago. So COVID kind of derailed their overall plans. Main goal is volunteering at healthcare sites, pharmacies, free clinics, things like that. And while they could do some of that this year, we pivoted a little bit more to some virtual things. So they, wrote cards for people who were in long-term care facilities. They got involved in a program where they were making blankets for people that were in the hospital and things like that. So the group is kind of a catch-all. They let their members kind of guide where they're going to go, and they have different areas they like to focus on. Local versus more national, international projects, and so that's been fun so far. And I think we're still working on gaining some traction, and hopefully in the next year can do a little bit more in-person things again.
Love it.
I'll just briefly talk about Generation RX and what that is. I'll briefly mention another program that we have in the college called Pills, Potions, and Poisons. And I don't know if anyone on the call actually has been in that program, but that's a high school science enrichment class where we start to look at pharmacology and other drug science type topics and explore that at the high school level. So then it gets you a leg up to see if this is the career for you, if this is the major for you, if this is the program for you. And so really fun. Dr. Summers has taught a lot in that. I've taught a lot in that. Just a really, really cool program. And one that on the back end, because I know you all are coming in as freshmen, you can get involved in helping out with that program. So that is a good, you could be TA in that program and help kind of the next generation of pharmaceutical scientists come on board. I do lead this program called Generation RX. I founded that with a colleague back in 2007. And it was right when we started to see some troubling data about the opioid epidemic. And so what we knew at that point was that people weren't really formally trained in how to use medicines properly. You kind of just gleaned it across the years. Maybe you even think about your own experience. You may not have learned it in school. You may not even have learned it from a pharmacist or a physician or anyone. You kind of picked up what your parents might do or your aunts and uncles might do. And that may be totally fine in some circumstances, but even in my own family, that was not the best situation to model after. So we were all education kind of centered people at the time. So we started to develop out some tools that could teach medication safety or safe medication taking practices, I should say, to people of all ages. So now we have these free, ready to go resources that for elementary, teen, university, adult, and older adult audiences. And we've been able to leverage students to drive a lot of the growth. So we know that about 102,000 people across the country have picked up Generation RX and delivered programming in their communities, to their schools, to their Rotary clubs, to their faith-based organizations, to about 3 million people. So it's a national program now. We have this amazing little team that drives out all of this cool innovation. We launched a 4-H project book this year around medicine, safety, and science. We've got Girl Scout patch. We've got all of these cool things that we can innovate in, and Dr. Summers is crucial to that. We also have a lab at our science center in town called the Center of Science and Industry, or COSI. As a kid, when I went to COSI, that was what solidified that I wanted to be a scientist, and I actually dreamed of working at COSI some days. And now we have this pharmaceutical drug education laboratory out there where you get to do hands-on science, and that's a place where you can take a class and learn to communicate science, as well as to get paid work opportunities there. So just lots of really fun stuff. That importantly, Ohio State is committed to community engagement. It's part of our mission. So we are definitely dedicated to how we can serve the community.
Thank you guys so much. That's all such great information. Daniela asked about the chemistry tutoring program, and I think I might be the best person to answer that. So so the way that the chemistry tutoring program works is that we have 2 individuals that work with the program. They're graduate students in our College of Pharmacy graduate program. So they're actually pursuing pharmaceutical science graduate level education. And these students have usually got a really great background in chemistry because they've, shown a great interest in pharmaceutical science research. So what we do is, because they're graduate students and they're not currently in the classes you're in, we actually have them attend the general chemistry lecture and lab and the organic chemistry lecture. And they're actually following along with what you guys are learning in the classroom. So that way, it's not that they just have a good general chem knowledge, but they also know exactly what you're learning and how it's being taught to you so that they can be the best support system for you. So then you as a student will simply go to our website. There's a website for it and there's a link, and you just pick date and time to sign up. And there are tons of available times and dates, and you can just go as many times as you like. It's a completely free service. Some students see a tutor every week. Some students visit a tutor maybe once before finals, or maybe if an exam didn't go so well, they check in about what they did wrong. So you can kind of utilize a tutor as little or as much as you want. And like I said, it's completely free. We pay these students to, the college funds the students who do this for us. So I hope that answers your question. And I hope that you will utilize it. We're looking at kind of further developing this out in the future as well, in hopes to have tutoring support for our biochemistry class too. So hopefully by the time you guys are juniors and you take that class, you'll just have support all the way through, which would be fabulous. So hope that answers the question. And Nevaeh, I saw your question about IB credits. Absolutely. We do accept higher level IB credits with a score of 4 or higher. So if you have any interest, and this goes for all of you on the call, if you have any interest in looking at how credit that you've earned in high school might translate over to the BSPS program, I just put my email in the chat. I mean, you should have all gotten emails from me by now. You're probably sick of seeing my name, but email me and you can send me like list of IB credit, AP credit, college credit plus, or dual enrollment, whatever you're bringing in. And I can provide you with kind of an assessment of where that credit will go in the BSPS and how you can utilize that towards your degree. Ohio State accepts AP credits of 3 or higher. And then a lot of college courses from other universities will take as well. We just have to check for equivalency between schools. And the 3 or higher is to get credit. But for some of the courses like biology, chemistry, you have to score a little bit higher, a 4 or 5, to get the more advanced science, which is what we require because we are a science major. So we can't take like bio 11, like basic bio, we have to take science bio for science majors. So that's kind of how that works. So long story short, just email me and I'm happy to walk you through that process. So many good questions. I'm glad you all are taking advantage of this opportunity. Has anything else come to mind? I'm just going to double check that I didn't miss anything in the chat. Somebody else just joined. Let's see here. I think I got everything in the chat. Are there any other questions at all?
Oh, they're doing it still.
Hi, Sydney. We're still going, but we're just wrapping up. If you want to mute yourself, I can hear you in the background. And we are recording this, just so you know. So if you don't want to show your face. Are there any other questions folks have for faculty or for me, I guess, since it's also the Katie Watkins show right now? We have about 9 more minutes.
Are you a professor?
Am
Or
I a
do you
professor?
just oh, you just
I'm a staff member in the college, but the other folks that you see on camera are all faculty. So if you have any questions for our faculty, you can ask those questions. They're professors. And you can drop it in the chat, Sydney, or you can unmute and ask the questions that you have. And while we're waiting to see if there's any additional questions, I just want to plug that we do have opportunities for students that are, interested in pharmacy school, of course. We also have a drug discovery pathway for students who are interested more in research-based careers, like what Dr. Summers and Dr. Denton did, their kind of background. And Dr. Kwiek too has a science background. So you can do a PharmD, you can do a graduate degree, you can just do a BSPS. You can also do our combined BSPS PharmD program if you want to fast track yourself to a doctor of pharmacy degree. So there's a lot of opportunities. We see students that go into every health profession you can imagine. We're seeing more and more pre-med students, lots of dentistry students as well. My dentist is actually, she was a BSPS student, which is crazy. I didn't know that before I started going to her. It was a fun coincidence, but yeah, so we see all kinds of things. So even if you're not 100% sure about pharmacy, but you're interested in healthcare or biomedical science, this is a great program for you.
well, as far as you said with the research, I'm more interested in that, like researching to create medicines.
Yeah.
So with that, do I need to get a doctorate or master's? Like what would be the best course if you were interested in research?
That's a great question, Sydney. And I would definitely encourage you. I'm going to send this out afterwards because our faculty did talk a little bit about that, but I think Dr. Denton can speak to that in a little more detail. He's unmuted. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of different pathways you can take to research. If you want to do lab bench research, like the kind of research you see in the virtual background behind me, typically graduate school is the traditional pathway to that, going for either a master's degree or a PhD after undergrad. But don't feel like you're limited.
Oh no, I think we lost Dr.
Research. There are
Denton.
plenty of PharmDs that. Oh,
You
yep,
muted out for a second there. You said, don't think you're limited, and then
Oh,
we lost
no.
you. Can you go back to what you were saying?
Yes. I was just saying that don't feel like you need to be limited to the MD and the PhD to do research. They may be the gold standard for the bench research, but any field that you go into is going to have investigations. It's going to have questions that need to be answered. So if you're a PharmD and you want to figure out what the role of the opioid crisis is in your community, or if you want to figure out how best to run a pharmacy practice, how best to treat your patients, that can be a form of research as well. If you want to do clinical trials, typically that's done with some kind of practitioner's license. MD, if you're doing like a surgical procedure, for example, even nurses, physician assistants, dentists, they can all do research that's within their practice. So really just depends on what questions you want to investigate.
And definitely a good way to get started with all that, Sydney, is getting involved in undergraduate research. And like I said, there was some conversation about that at the beginning of the panel, and I am going to send this link out after. So I would encourage you to check it out. We do have quite a few opportunities for students to get involved in undergraduate research, whether that be more informally working in a lab setting with faculty or through a fellowship program. There are lots of different types of programs like that at Ohio State and within the College of Pharmacy that you can look at. So definitely talk with your advisor when you get on campus, and we can help you get connected with those resources. Dr. Kwiek has her hand up.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing or two more things really. I did an undergraduate research experience in my, I guess started in my sophomore year of undergrad, and it completely changed my career trajectory. I thought I was going to be a doctor, and then I was in the lab and I thought, oh my goodness, I love this. And then I started teaching and I was like, I really love this. This is what I want to do. So be thinking about that, taking Dr. Denton's Intro to Pharmaceutical Science Research class, that helps you get experience, because it's not, the classes that you're taking that have a lab component don't always translate to what research really feels like. So getting in there and doing some real innovation is actually important. And I just want to make this mention, Sydney, that you may not know this because I didn't know it when I was coming into school, but to go to graduate school in a biomedical science, it's usually costs nothing to the student. In fact, you're paid to do it. You're paid to get your PhD, for instance. And in some cases, that might be a master's level too. So, like Dr. Denton said, yeah, it is a lot of opportunity in the pharmaceutical industry comes with a graduate degree. Not all of it. There are certainly plenty of entry-level positions that a BSPS would allow you to get into, but graduate school for me was one of the most formative experiences of my life. And again, I didn't pay a dime for it. They paid me to do it. And that's not uncommon. So just thinking about that.
Thank you. I'm sorry I joined so late, but yeah,
You're great,
that was
Sydney.
still very informative.
No worries at all. Thank you for joining us at all. That's fabulous. So really appreciate everybody's time today. Are there any last questions before we sign off?
No, but thank you so much because that was what I was really interested, because I know that I was interested in like the research process, but I just wasn't sure exactly how I should go about it. But I'm interested in Dr. Denton's class, farm
That's
science.
awesome. Yeah, we have a whole research pathway here, Sydney. So when you come for orientation, we'll definitely chat with you more about that in detail. Super excited for you.
Absolutely, do seek me out once you're established at OSU and all that. I'd love to talk more about research.
And Sydney, we often don't hear from students who want to do research right from the get-go. It's usually clinical experiences or clinical careers. So it warms our little science hearts to have it. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's so great. Well, big thanks to all of you students for taking the time to sit through a Zoom thing. I know they're not everybody's favorite, but really appreciate you all being here. I hope you got some value out of hearing from our faculty today. And I cannot thank all of you enough, faculty, for taking the time to share your expertise. I can talk about these things all day, but it means so much that you would take the time to drop in and chat with our students. So thank you all for that. And if you all need anything else, again, I put my email in the chat. You're welcome, Rachel. I put my email in the chat again for you guys. If you need anything, touch base with me. So happy to help you as you make your final decisions about Ohio State. So congratulations again, and go Bucks. Bye, guys.